Hello. Ooh, hang on. Hang on. Guess who didn't turn that green screen off? No. There we go. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, you've seen my green screen. You know what colour of green I use? Diabolical of me, isn't it? Right, give me 2 seconds, my dear sinners. Give me 2 seconds. See, that green was used specifically because my wings and Halo bloody pick up the colour, by the way, if it's anything brighter. I think I mentioned this in the debut, but I discovered this, that my wings and Halo can pick it up because of how translucent they are. It's a weird detail. I never knew it was a thing. Until, like, today. Well, not today, sorry. Until, like, obviously when I, like, debuted it and stuff. I'm gonna do one thing before we get started. I would like to... Not that one. There we go. Want to use my music more fitting. Right, let's get this show on the road. Let me do no UI. And we need a little screen share, don't we? 1 second. Sorry about this, chat. I'm always a bit more prepared than this. Not that one. Why isn't it showing? Hang on. I hate this thing sometimes, I really do. 1 second, chat. There we go. Bloody thing. Right, there we go. Streamlabs, I love you, but sometimes you're terrible. Okay. Right, welcome into my Dark Heresy-esque TED Talk, I guess. Let me know if the music's too loud. I thought I'd put something appropriate on. Bit of Dark Tide music. Felt like it did the job nicely. Me, myself here. Right, how are we all tonight? A little earlier than normal, isn't it? Let me put you, lovely lot, up here where I can see you. Better, won't it? There we are. Right, a bit of an unusual one today, as we're doing a bit of a deep little dive into a system. Good long time no see. You sound like we weren't talking last night. Right, let me scroll it to the start, actually. So, welcome to Dark Heresy 2nd Edition. I have a few more books to open, actually. Second, because it's not just that Dark Heresy book we might be looking through today. Beyond, Enemies Without, and Enemies Within. Right. So, Dark Heresy 2nd Edition never quite got the full support that 1st edition did, but it got a lot. Just yapping. Just yapping away. Right, so... Dark Heresy 2nd Edition. If you've been here for my A Voice in the Dark campaign, this is the system we're using, by the way. So, if you're ever curious what's being used, this system is what we're using. I personally quite like it. In my humble opinion, I do quite like it. It's got some flaws, and I wanted to discuss those as I go through this. So yeah, can you see us all right? All looking okay? Want me to zoom in a little bit? Alrighty. So, decent-sized contents page, but we won't go through. So some bits we won't go through. We might do a little bit of this, but like some of the initial, like, what is a tabletop RPG and all that kind of stuff, we're gonna ignore that because we know what a role-playing game is. there are like nice little sections here for lore. Sorry if I was like yesterday what to watch and yet more ballsy. Ah, that's okay, man. You're tired. It's just how it is. So we're gonna go through some of these as we go. But of course, a very important thing I must read. More than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind, and by the will of the gods, a master of a million worlds, by the might of the inexorable armies. He's a rotting carcass, thriving invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed each day so that he may never truly die. Yet in his deathless state, the Emperor continues his eternal vigilance. Mighty battle fleets cross the demon-infused miasma of the war, the only route between distant stars. A way lit by the Astronomicon, the shifting psychic manifestation of the Emperor's will. Vast armies give battle in his name, and uncounted worlds. Greatest among his soldiers are the Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines, bioengineered super warriors. Their comrades in arms are Legion, the Imperial Guard, the ever-vigilant Inquisition, and a tech priest of the Adeptus Mechanicus, to name but a few. But for the multitudes, they are barely enough to hold out the ever-present threat: aliens, heretics, mutants, and worse. To be a man in such times is to be among untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. Forget the power of technology and science, for much has been forgotten, never to be revealed. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. There is no peace among the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods. Prepare to enter the nightmare world of Dark Heresy. That last bit's tacked on for Dark Heresy specifically, but you get the point. So, nice little intro bit. Any 40k thing worth its salt should always have this. This bit's just for Dark Heresy specifically, but this bit's like, if you want to boil down the Warhammer 40,000 setting, this. Literally this. These 3 paragraphs. Honestly. Chef's kiss. Nailed it. And honestly, some classic aesthetic. This book's filled with like really nice like pictures, by the way. It's not many, but some really nice like bits of art like this. This is like bit from the Golden Throne. The Emperor is literally a rotting carcass, by the way. I like to mention this. He does a bit written by Dan Abnett, all things. So a bit of like an intro bit. We won't go through this specifically, but this is a bit like a bit intro story. Nice little story arc you can read through. And again, filled with like classic Warhammer art. So I do recommend, if anyone's interested in 40k, this book's a nice little read. Yeah, so Dark Heresy, obviously this is the 2nd edition. They did a lot of rebalancing in this edition, because 1st edition Dark Heresy was kind of crazy. You could do all kinds of... You started weaker, but by the end of the game, you could literally... I think one of the things I heard suggested was that you could use psychic powers to astral project yourself across the system, find someone, make their brain explode. Yeah, the Golden Throne's a weird one. Most people never see it. Like, the amount of people who actually see the Emperor, well, there's a specific number, other than his loyal companions. Obviously, we don't need to get into this bit. What is a role-playing game? We know what a role-playing game is. This gives some lore, and what the Inquisition are, the different ordos. These are like the main 3. It's the Hereticus, Xenos Malleus, heretics, aliens, demons. Well, yeah, just about. Right, so obviously, some things to note, just going over the basics here. Dark Heresy, just like in D&D, you've got strength, dex, constitution, that kind of stuff, right? Dark Heresy, weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, agility, intelligence, perception, willpower, fellowship, and influence. To explain the stats generally, weapon skill, most Warhammer stuff has it broken down like this because the tabletop's broken down like this. So weapon skill is how good are you at swinging a weapon. Melee, basically. Not how strong you can hit, not how strong you are, but how good you are at swinging a weapon. Basically. Ballistic skill is that, but for bullets. How good can you shoot a gun? Can you nail someone at 100 yards without any issues? Or would you basically flail madly like a headless chicken trying to hit a barn? That's pretty much what that stats for. Again, doesn't affect damage. Strength, now that can affect damage. As a good rule of thumb, and this is for anyone here who wants to DM this system, strength, basically, whatever damage your melee weapon does, you add the strength modifier to it. Unless specified otherwise, and I think I can't think of anything where that isn't the case. So, yeah. Strength is also important for heavy weapon usage. So even if you're going to say, actually, Cobral, I just want to shoot my gun, that's great. What kind of gun you want to use? Oh, a heavy bolter. Okay, cute. How strong are you? Oh, you're not strong enough to carry that thing? You're not going to use it, buddy. Sorry. Heavy weapons have their own complications, but they're very powerful. It's why I find the sniper to be a smidge overpowered, because they hit about as hard as a heavy weapon, but for way less the complications of using it. Sorry if I'm randomly stopping, my ear is itching like a bastard. Right. This is warm here. Might be done heating off in a minute. Yeah, so obviously toughness. How tough are you? Who's best for ballistic skill? Because she will be the projectile. Yeah, toughness is basically how hard can you be hit. It factors into your soak as well. We'll get into this later, but basically, soak is the total amount you can take damage-wise before it actually gets your health. So let's say, for example, I shoot you with an autogun. Soak will determine how much damage you actually take after doing armor penetration. Most weapons don't ignore your toughness, but some can. Psychic abilities can do it, and that can be very terrifying. But it does also mention here poison effects. There are lots of those. Agility. Can you dodge, dip, dive, and dodge? But also how fast you can run. Having a low agility can mean you don't move very quickly. It's important to have a bit of agility. Honestly, if I had to be completely honest with you, I think 30 agility is a minimum, in my opinion. Some people might disagree, but I genuinely think if you can get 30 agility, because that'll mean that your half moves 3 meters rather than 2. It sounds like not much, but that's the difference between getting caught up by Nurglings, which, if they do catch you, will hurt a lot. You might remember poor Devil Den getting headbutted by one and nearly dying. And for anyone who thinks, but what if... Let's say, for example, maybe your character's not good at shooting, but you still want to use a gun. Use a flamer. We'll get to those later, but flamers don't care about aiming. You point a flamer is more of a... to you and your household, rather than a to whom it might concern. Yeah, agility, very helpful. Dodge as well. Weapon skills also use in parrying, just to mention. So they're both of defensive options. Intelligence. How smart are you? Are you smooth? Or are you perhaps very rigid in the lobes? If you are someone who wants to do anything with Medicaid or law stuff, then yeah, you need this. Also, advanced weapons, quite often. You're going to want a bit of this. But it also has involved lots of law stuff. We'll get to laws in a minute, because some of them can be spicy. Perception. How perceptive are you? Can you see what's coming? Or are you going to let the thing smack you in the face so hard that it rearranges your face before you even know it's there? Perception, it can be one of those skills that either never comes up much or is integral for you to miss an ambush, I found. And some characters are great at it. And it helps. There's lots of little things you can do. It can be, let's say, like there's been descriptions here, finding something, realizing something's going to happen, that kind of stuff, you know? Willpower. If you ever play this system, or DM it, do not skimp on willpower. Do not skimp on willpower. Okay? Because here's the thing. If you skimp on willpower, I promise you it will be painful. Let's put it this way. Willpower determines stuff like if you're going to have a fucking heart attack because you've just seen something horrific. And if you're a bastard like me, you make your players see horrific stuff quite often. But there's a lot of scary stuff in Warhammer. Anything demonic, for example. Anything demonic. But yeah, also if you're a Psyker. If you're a Psyker, you better have good willpower. I would honestly say, if you're a Psyker and you have below 40 willpower, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle a lot. You want good willpower. Also to resist your own bullshit, because things can go very, very wrong. This is a really important stat, by the way. I just want to stress this. Even if you don't think you'll use it, I promise you, you will. You will use it because things like taking cover from a suppression. Like someone pulls out a big heavy machine gun and just does brr down the fucking corridor. This is to help you not get scared from that. Because that can come up. Right, last two. Fellowship. Are you a bit of a rizzer? Are you a bit of a smooth talker? Yes, it can be as well, Decker. For some things. For some things, yeah. It can be used in resistance. There's also traits and talents. There's talents later called Deny the Witch that specifically let you use willpower against that stuff. And there is... Hey, Zork, buddy, how you doing? So if you are a smooth-talking son of a gun, perhaps Fellowship's the one for you. There's a lot of things you can use Fellowship for. Something it doesn't mention in here, but can actually be quite useful. You can actually swap out your influence for your Fellowship for some things. Really helpful. If you want a good example of this, one of my players does this a lot. Ada Scarlet's character, Janus, is a character that uses Fellowship specifically to uses it for influence. Speaking of influence, influence is weird. Influence is really weird. And for any of you who are used to DMing for other game systems, this is going to sound really strange. It's the one stat the players can't increase on their own after character creation. They can increase almost every other stat in the game, except this one. This one is weird. So it's also a resource you can burn as well. Actually, no, there is one other thing you can't. No, you can increase. Sorry, fate points can be increased, actually. So, no, I am right. This is the one thing that can't be increased. Like, put it this way. It mentions in the description here, but let's say, for example, your party fucks up, right? They were meant to save somebody, and they blow them up. Call food level up. Maybe you can increase your stats. I'm not as familiar with it, but I could. You know what? Memory serves. Call of Cthulhu, though. It's weird because having a high stat doesn't always help you. Actually, being a dumbass is sometimes really helpful if memory serves. Which is something that I could see being a thing in this, honestly. I remember the videos you sent, thinking back to it now. There's definitely an angle of that in this, by the way. There's an angle of that in this, because, you know, like, so insanity is a thing that you get tracked for in this. There's 3 ways your character can die in Dark Heresy. Dying because they've taken a critical injury that just says you're dead. Dying because they've gotten too corrupted by chaos. Or dying because they've gone insane. Obviously, the other 2 aren't necessarily death, but you can assume it's as good as. For the chaos corruption, a little hint, a little tip. If you're ever going to run a Dark Crusade game, a player character that has fallen to chaos completely is a viable option for that system. Different to this, but just thought I'd mention it because it lets you play chaos. But yeah, corruption, I'll get to that, but that's like... It's a really... Be careful. Insanity can be addressed with XP, but corruption, oof, we'll get to that. But yeah, influence is a reward, and you can take it away. But certain things in the game require influence. For example, your character can actually become an Inquisitor, and this requires a bit of lore knowledge. I would like to stress to any of you who want to DM Dark Heresy, or any Warhammer thing, do not give them the power of an Inquisitor lightly. If you're going to do this, and this is an honest thing to you, hold them accountable for their decisions, because an Inquisitor in Warhammer has near, if not unlimited, power. There's only 2 things that can stop an Inquisitor in their tracks. The Emperor of Mankind himself, and another Inquisitor. As far as raw political power, that is pretty much it. Now, I will stress, when I say the Emperor of Mankind, I also mean his direct agents. If a Golden Boy turns up, a Custodes, they could definitely stop an Inquisitor, and no one would stop them. No one fucking could stop them either, frankly. And Space Marines don't have to listen to them. So, if someone decides to walk up to the Dark Angels and says, "Rah, rah, let me into your rock now," bang. Like, that's the thing, though. They can do that, technically. But here's the thing. Yes, they can do that, but are the other Inquisitors okay with that? They might turn around and say, actually, no, you can't do that, actually. Like, once they become an Inquisitor, and this may require a bit of a sit-down with the player, that's a huge moment for their character, by the way. And for players, by the way, if you want to become an Inquisitor, state this from the get-go. Because that lets the DM kind of help push you towards that direction, potentially. Because that's a long-term goal. It requires it requires 70 influence, by the way. Now, I'd like to stress to you, the most influence you can start with is 40. So becoming an Inquisitor is a huge thing. I'll get to it later because it's referred to as an elite advance, and it's one of the things that you can do as a character later. But yeah, the short version is influence. It lets you get gear because there's no universal currency in Warhammer. So we'll use a cult on it. Yeah, see, that doesn't always work out. There's an Inquisitor called Cryptman who, he's excommunicated now because he kept blowing up worlds because he wanted to leave a circle of dead worlds in the galaxy so the Tyranids would starve before they got to a planet. However, this meant he'd be exterminating hundreds of thousands of worlds. There are not infinite worlds in the galaxy for the Imperium to destroy at a whim. There are many, but not infinite. But yeah. But he is an expert on Tyranids, I will say this. But yeah, there's a few bits in here. Like I say, if anyone wants to do like system stuff, there's plenty of stuff in here. It's a D100 system, by the way. So if you're familiar with a percentile system, so you want to roll under your score. So if you have a 40 in weapon skill, you want to roll under that. There are other things that can affect that number, by the way, but just as a rule of thumb. It was with sci-fi. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it goes into a bit about tests and stuff here. Obviously, some shit just fails. And a natural 1 is like... It's like crit success, basically. But certain things, and it mentions it here, but this should be obvious, certain things just fail. Because, for example, if your player says, I'm going to shoot that Titan with my las pistol, let them do it. Won't fucking dent it. Even if the void shield's on, they won't even dent it. So yeah, you do it. There's nothing. Or just other crazy shit. This is something I need to remember, actually. This is the... You can assign, as a DM, difficulty to the tests, by the way, on top of the roll under score. I'll be honest, if it's going to be trivial, I almost wouldn't bother, but if you really want them to roll for it, like under a bit of pressure, then yeah, plus 60. I rarely go above a plus 20 myself. It might not even notice you, to be honest. What is loading on assistance, actually? Character must be a decent. Two characters. Ah, that's actually I didn't know. So you can assist, but obviously you have to like know shit. A big thing with Dark Heresy, and what I'll say to anyone who does DM, you probably know this exact feeling. Make sure your players specialize a bit, because Dark Heresy doesn't assume you can do everything. By default, it actually forces you to specialize. I'll get to the attribute system later, but I personally am thinking of doing away with it next time I run the system. So I don't like it for allowing player progression and like them trying like off. Because like if you're trying to like an off build, right? Like for example, the Elven Barbarian or something like that, right? You can do that in D&D. It's not even that bad. But in this, if you try and go like off build, it's really awkward. It might screw you quite a bit in your progression. So there's bits, like I say, the attribute system's one of the things I don't like. It kind of just makes things weird. Let me see. Ah, yes, Heresy in action. Lots of little bits, bobs. A little note here, obviously, and just to stress this, if you like Call of Cthulhu, or games that get a bit dark, Heresy is great. If you're not a big fan of, like, a dark setting, I will stress Heresy emphasizes the dark end of Warhammer a lot. It intends... There's a lot of bits that really intend for you to put your players through the most horrific ends of the setting, okay? So, just to stress this as I'm going through and talking about stuff, this system will not play nice with you. Your characters can die painfully. So when you start a fight in Heresy, just know that it is not to be done lightly. You heal 1 wound a day without assistance. Now, I've granted my players lots of medical stuff because I get them into fights a bunch. But just to stress, limit fights to where it's needed. And treat most fights as a light skirmish, except when the plot needs it. Then dial it up a smidge. So, that's one thing I will say to you there. Any questions so far as I've gone through it, by the way? By all means, if there's any questions from, like, my sessions you've been watching, potentially, as well, now is a great time. Obviously, I will not answer any plot stuff, because I keep that shit close to my chest. I know my players are probably watching this. Hi. So, you know. There's a small chance they're there. Can I seduce the Hive Lord? I'm gonna be honest, Decker. A Hive Tyrant would be a terrifying fight in this system. Let's put it this way. You wouldn't be able to get near it. I'll put it this way. There's stats for them in the Deathwatch book. That's a thing where you can play Space Marines, and it's a terrifying thing in that. You'd be better off trying a Gene Stealer, and that's only because it would hypnotize you and infect you with its virus and make you go and sleep with people so you reproduce with hybrid offspring. Right. Assuming there's no big questions, I'll move on to character creation then. The fun bit. Yeah, the Gene Stealer virus is funny. If you like Call of Cthulhu stuff, Gene Stealer cults are great. Because they have that Innsmouth kind of thing going on with them. Basically, Gene Stealers can, like, hypnotize you and give what's called the Gene Stealer kiss. Basically, they infect you with a virus, and it rewrites your genetic code. So you won't look any different. But your kids that you will have, because the virus almost makes you ungodly horny. Yeah, that kid. Oh, and also, the virus is spreadable by sex. So the Gene Stealer gives you AIDS. They literally give you an STD. That rewrites genetics and makes you have hybrid children. And over the generations, they will look more human. They will initially look really horrifying, and then look more human. But then the initial people who are infected are still, like, connected to the brood mind that develops. It's a whole, like, thing. Literally is a cult. And the Tyranids to them are like their Cthulhu. And I will stress, Tyranids, they should be treated like that. If for some reason you want to use Tyranids, by the way, in this, be very careful. Because they are not something a typical Dark Heresy party can fight. Reason being, Tyranids are hyper-evolved killing machines that can withstand small arms fire in many cases. Oh yeah, the older generations, yeah, they only come out when it's needed. There's also certain generations that only turn up when the high fleets are approaching. And obviously, pure strain Gene Stealers, they are not to be trifled with. They can tear Space Marines apart, so your Dark Heresy party? Oh yeah, you ain't that tough. You ain't even close to that tough. But yeah. So, let's get on to Homeworlds, shall we? Now, each of the books, and I'll go over this a little bit as well. Each of the books have... let me find different Homeworlds. We'll get to the Homeworld in a second. Don't ask me why that book has her in there for some reason. I imagine. The Patriarch. The Patriarchs, so they're weird. They kind of bloat and become more powerful, and gain sentience. They're also a Psyker, a really strong Psyker. On top of the fact they're Genestealer Patriarchs, they're way stronger. So, choosing a home world. There are many home worlds you could have, and basically, you can roll at random. And oh, I should have stressed as well, you can do point buy or rolls. It explains it in the book how to do this. Yeah, there's also Broodlords. They're a separate thing, but Broodlords are similar, comparable strength, but they're engineered from the get-go to be a powerful, like, army leader, whereas the Patriarch has to be developed. So, worlds then. There's 3 big bits to your character's early development other than the points. And you pick those stats after the home world, by the way. Just to mention. Because when you're doing your points, certain worlds have a plus and a minus. If it's a plus, you get a 30 in that stat instead of 25. If it's a minus, you get a 20 in that stat instead of 25 as a starting point. Basically, you're going to be better at certain things off the bat, basically. You start on 25 and everything, by default. I believe if you're rolling, you roll, instead of 2d10, you roll 3d10 and pick the highest, or the lowest if it's a minus. So, just a little thing for you guys there. But yeah, homeworlds. Homeworlds determine a few things about you. We'll use the feral world as an example. So, if you are a feral worlder, you are from a very primitive-like place. There's probably a starport somewhere. Maybe you're a tribesman or were from a tribe at one point in your life, and the Imperium was nothing more than the Sky People who would come down and proclaim the words of God, and then give you supplies and take what you found. Or maybe they grab you and take you away to be put in the guard, you know? Basically, you're in a horrific place that's very backward. Not much technology. Just to stress, by the way, the average world, or an Imperial world, is pretty standard, like Earth. These are not that. These are more regressed. So, if you're a primitive worlder, you get bonuses to strength and toughness, negative with influence. Now, remember what I said about influence? Like Birmingham. Yeah, you're from Birmingham if you go from there. Influence, obviously, you'll start with 20. Now, you might keep it at 20. You might say, actually, my feral world has not got much influence. He isn't anyone important. But then you might say you need it. I did miss one thing with influence, by the way. Your influence modifier determines how much equipment you can get on top of what you get in character creation. So if you have 20 influence, you can get 2 items of scarce rarity. There are ways to manipulate rarity, by the way. We'll get to that. Because you can make some fucked builds if you're willing to take lower quality gear, because it lowers the rarity by 1 on top of other bullshit. Just to stress, if you're going to do that, you best have reasons for your character. But yeah, so you get your modifiers. This will affect your points. Fate bonus. So, just to explain, fate points. You'll remember in my campaign, my players will use fate points to do things, right? So, let's say, for example, Conrad can't find something. Well, he's just used a fate point to succeed. Fate points, you can have so many, and they recharge at the start of the next session. You can use them for a few things. You can heal 1d5 wounds. You can auto-succeed on certain tests. You can give yourself a big bonus if you can't auto-succeed on them. And you can burn them. You might ask Kerbal, why would I permanently lower how many fate points I can have? Because it's the only way you don't die. Yes, Forso. No, this is Conrad in my campaign, not Conrad Kurz. But yeah, so... But you can, in character creation, you can roll a d10. If you roll above the number, you get an extra fate point. So if you roll a d10 and get more than 3, extra fate point. So, yeah, little thing for you there. You get a bonus as well. This one is the old ways. Basically, well, when we get to weapons, some weapons have the primitive quality, okay? This means that the maximum damage they can do is that number. So, a sword might have primitive 7. The max damage it can do is 7. But if you've got this, it gains proven 3. You might say, Kerbal, what the fuck are you on about? Well, my dear sinner, proven 3 basically means your weapon's minimum damage is 3. The minimum you can roll is 3, basically. On the d10 now, of this. Whereas before, it's a maximum of 7. That makes sense? You gain an aptitude. Now, aptitudes are the thing I don't like. I'll explain it later, but basically, certain skills and talents require aptitudes to make things cheaper to get XP with. I don't like this system, personally, and if I had to be honest with you, I don't think you should use it if you run a game with this. Personally. If you want to, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. Run the thing as written if you like. But, personally, I would recommend not using it. In my opinion. But, that's just me. How would you balance it? Treat everything as they have 1 skill in it. And 2 if it's, like, generic. Because certain things have, like, the general aptitudes everyone has anyway. If it's that, aptitude was tone 2, because it's generic. Basically. It does recommend things. Now, because of how the aptitudes work, if you go outside of recommendations, it can get fucky. But if you follow recommended, you will have a working character. Now, just to mention, it doesn't obviously count for the... Well, it won't say what it recommends for, like, the new backgrounds that the other books had, because it was written before them. They didn't retroactively update it. Just a little sip. And then wounds. That's like your health. But unlike in D&D, if I take you down to 0 wounds, chat, that doesn't put you down. What it does is it allows you to go into critical wounds. Long story short, critical wounds can do anything from doing an injury to you, to permanent limb loss, to death. So, yeah. You'll only ever use critical injuries, though, on players and very elite enemies and bosses. Never use it on generic chumps. It's a waste of time. You're there all day. Yeah, it gives you stuff about Feral World characters. An example, Feral... Well, this is what I'm familiar with, the Forge World. We'll go through these a bit quicker now I've explained this, but if you want to be a tech priest, this is probably the best one. You get the intelligence, you get the Umbricize Chosen. Now this one specifically gives talents. Through the limb you can get pathetic. Yeah, you can, that's true. And if one of your players is what's called a Chirurgeon, or a Chirurgeon, I forget how he's meant to say it. Basically a doctor, they can help with that. But it'll take a bit of recovery. Now, this one's quite useful. Basically, are you good at basically smacking weapon, making it work, or are you great with high-tech weapons? And then you get like alright amount of wounds and intelligence. You're not very good at fellowship. Which do you expect from a Forge World, right? You're either a tech priest or you're someone who was a menial before getting into your background. Highborn. Highborns, you can basically say you're from wherever you want, by the way, with a Highborn. Essentially, you are nobility. You're from the upper class. You're someone, you know, you're from like a point of privilege, right? So your general thing is basically, let's say, for example, hello, Paint. Have I got early Christmas present from Nurgle soon? Ooh, I'm sorry to see you got a present from Nurgle. I'm doing right, buddy. How about yourself? All things considered. Basically, they get the breeding counts. Seems like from nobility, there's a lot of breeding going up there. They're right. Imperial nobility are degenerate as fuck, by the way, just to mention. They're degenerate as fuck. Anytime a highborn character reduces influence, it reduces it by 1 less to a minimum reduction of 1. Basically, you are good at saving face. You get 4 fate points, and if you somehow roll a 10, or a d10, you get 5. The 4 is still pretty good. Decent wounds as well, actually. I never realised. But yeah, Fellowship influence, but you're very tough. Yeah, it goes on to Highborns. Basically, Highborn can be from any world you want, by the way. That one's quite nice. Hive worlds. Now, don't get it twisted. Not every world is a hive world. Hive worlds are actually a lot rarer than people think. But quite often, worlds get built into hive worlds. Old lore said it couldn't be done anymore, but I think you still can now. But it takes a lot to build a hive, because... And imagine this for a second, right? Like, look at this picture here. That's a starship. That's a city. And you can't even see what's underground. Through the smog. It's literally people on top of people on top of people on top of people on top of people. And that's ignoring the underhive. If you want actually a close... He looks small. He looks small. That's the same starship, I think. Yeah, that's the same size starship right there. To be fair, starship's not too big, so you can actually get into orbit. Also, welcome in, Rouge. It was combo. Yes, or an Imperial world, they're called. Basically, Earth. Very Earth-like. But, yeah, essentially, if you're born in a hive, spies are really efficient base-wise. Oh, they weren't made for efficiency. These things were not made for efficiency. The spires are where the rich people live. They get to live above the smog cloud, basically. Most people live way below the smog line. These things are also pretty fortified, I might add. A hive city quite often has walls, void shields, orbital weaponry, well, anti-orbital weaponry, the space elevators, artillery. They're actually armed to the teeth. Yeah, breaching a hive world is fucking horrifying. If they're actually, like, ready for war. Holy shit. A hive can be a nightmare. Put it this way. In one of the big wars that happened in Setting, a Chaos Lord decided to bring down a lance battery from a starship, something that's meant to slice through other ships, and used it to blow through hive cities. And he had to bring it on this mega structure of his own to, like, drag it round. Really terrifying weapon, but it required something that big for a hive. How big they are. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Like, Frankfurt here. In a way, but way bigger. Basically, a hive character, if you're born in a hive, you are really good at getting through a crowd. And you also gain a +20 to navigate surface tests. So one of the many things you can do is navigating, and you are really good when you're in enclosed spaces. So if you're around a city, you can get through people really easily and get through a city really easily. they're basically there to be someone who can run around the place and spot shit. Initially. It's the intent, anyway. You gotta respect my wounds. Right. Shrine Worlds. This is for your holier-than-thou people. Doesn't have to be necessarily, but you're probably the holy type if you're from here. Now, you are in a world surrounded by faith. Imagine that everywhere you look is a tapestry to the Emperor. You are woken up to the sound of hymns that you were expected to recite in your sleep. You are forever venerating the Emperor in some regard. Perhaps some of the people there are taken, young girls are taken to join the Adeptus Sororitas, for example. Specifically women, because the church isn't actually allowed men under arms. You can see how they got around that. Woken up by a giant bat, exactly. There'll be loads of those. Yeah, these are also sometimes... There is grave worlds too, but these might also... You could also run this as a grave world as well. Where it's like, got a big monument to the fallen heroes of a great campaign or something. Yeah, so they are really willed. Great Fellowship. Perception, not as much. Because ignorance is bliss, after all, and a mind too dull to doubt is a mind that's far better, the Creed. The Shrouded character was spent a fate point rolls a detail. Other than one, the character's total number of fate points is not reduced. Basically, you want to use your fate points. This character is going to be great at using anything about fate points. So, decent little character, honestly. Voidborn. Voidborn are interesting. So, you know how I've probably stated this before, but ships in Warhammer are so big that people live on them, and space stations are so monumental they're moon-sized. Yeah, you are born in the dark of space. You are someone who is... Gravity feels strange to you, because you're used to artificial gravity that might turn off in some places. You are used to the cold hardness of space, where any breaches, you're dead. But as a Voidborn, you're getting the Child of the Dark. A Voidborn character starts with a strong-minded talent, a really nice willpower talent, by the way, and grants plus 30 bonus to test for moving in zero-G environments. You'll be surprised how often that can come up. You tend to be quite smart, quite willed. It was licking... licking the pages. Lick the holy text. The dog's just licking up the lore. Delicious lore. Also, do enjoy all the nice artwork in here. So much nice artwork. Holy shit, honestly. I've played the Voidborn. They're fun. But like I said, the worlds give you a little extra something, you know? Yeah. Ooh, before we jump onto this bit, we're actually going to talk about the ones in the other books. Ignore the big titty Slanesh demon. So, demon worlds. Yes, your character can be from a demon world. Can I just stress something, though? You are definitely been affected by that place, and your character has been exposed to ungodly horrors, by the way. I need to stress to you that a demon world is like a bit of the warp. If you've survived without any kind of fuckery, yeah. So, you're very willed, you have to be to have not lost your mind in that. Very perceptive, not much fellowship, probably because you're too fucking PTSD ridden. And you gain touched by the warp. A Demon World native begins with 1 rank of Sinnosense. Basically, you have a 6th sense. You have a 6th sense that can detect the warp. You gain this skill again latest step character creation, he instead gains one additional rank with the skill. Note that he cannot purchase more skill ranks unless he acquires the psychic aptitude. The character begins 1d10 plus 5 corruption points. Yeah, you start corrupted immediately. You just be standing there. It's just Zork. Which version of Zork, though? Either Bergen or Honey Must. Oh no. It's every version of Zork. You're scared and potentially aroused, I don't know. And confused. So I can feel it if warp clock. Basically, yes. You have a sixth sense. Every emotion, exactly. You feel every emotion. Honestly, a Slaanesh demon world? Yeah, that's accurate. People say Slaanesh is just the god of gooning. No. God of excess. Too much of something. That would include gooning, but just gooning? No, not enough. Have you done enough cocaine to kill an elephant? And receiving a bit of pegging on the side? No? Well, Slaanesh isn't happy, you gotta do it. To get back to the point. Yeah, you start with corruption. Already. That's rough, by the way. 1d10 plus 5, if you're not lucky, you have already crossed one band of corruption and might gain a malignancy from the get-go. We double check though if they can. I think they do gain a malignancy, potentially gain a malignancy from the get-go. Every 10, basically. Nice bit of arc of the an old Lord of Change fighting a Bloodthirster there. Right, penal colonies. You're a prisoner. So there are entire planets dedicated to being a prison. Space Australia. You are from Space Australia. I like the old Lord of Change more than the new ones, actually. See, I'm quite a big fan of the new one. I don't know. I like them. But I can see it. I can respect it. So, you're pretty tough. You're pretty perceptive. Fuck all influence, because you're a dirty prisoner. You'll notice, by the way, some of the ones from the books have a little bit more going for them. Ooh, 10 plus 1d5 though for wounds. That's a nice wound count. You are a tough cookie. Finger on the pulse. One survives a penal colony by instinctively knowing who's in charge and who is a threat. A penal colony character begins with 1 rank in common law underworld and scrutiny skills, and starts with the peer criminal cartels talent. That's pretty nice from the get-go. So, to explain, you already can be used to look up information about criminal stuff. You start with scrutiny for free, and you have the peer criminal cartels talent. You gain bonus fellowship when dealing with criminals. That's not bad. As a starting thing, that's not bad at all. And you're quite tough. So you can actually be quite a tough person who's a bit of a speaker as well. In a similar vein, we have quarantine. You'll notice the demon book has a lot of concerning stuff. That's not going to be a rare detail, by the way. So, quarantine worlds are worlds that the Imperium has locked down tight. Maybe there's a horrific plague on there, or a dark secret, or just corruption. Point is, you ain't leaving easily. Like, put it this way, if your character have gotten off there, either the Inquisitor you work for got you off, winky face, no, or you snuck off. Not easy to do, by the way. You're good at shooting, you're good at thinking, you ain't that strong. Let me see, secret by nature. Those who manage to leave Quarantine World learn how to keep secrets. Whenever the warband's subtlety would decrease, it decreases by 2 less. That's a weird one. That's a weird one. So, actually, Caiaphas Canebuck. He smashes an Inquisitor. But yeah, so the subtlety is something, how to put it, the player will never see. The player will never see where they are on subtlety tracker, by the way. They have no idea. But so I'm not quite entirely sure how that actually interacts, I must confess. But I guess my understanding would be, let's say the players do something, and it gets them like more noticed. Because the subtlety meter goes down, basically. The lower the number, the worse. So I'm guessing the way it'd work is whatever number you would have done, it's a passive, basically. It's a passive skill. Essentially, the idea is that this character is always censoring information, finding a way to, like, stop things from spreading too far. Basically. And it's just a passive thing you can do. There are talents that you can use as well to make this better. Kane Eisenhorn, some of the coolest Oh yeah. And you get Fieldcraft, which is one of the other attributes you can get. Fieldcraft's used in like weapon modification and medical stuff. Very on the field, in the field kind of stuff. I think... that's backgrounds. Get back to that later. So, yes, that is a Titan, by the way. Legion of Storm? Legion of Storm. Fighting a big monster. Death Worlds. My players are currently on a Death World, you know. Basically, kids, a Death World is a world deemed unsuitable for human life. And yet people will live on there. Yeah, they shouldn't have humans on them, by the way. The Imperium has literally said, this world shouldn't have anyone on there. At all. Meanwhile, the Catachan Devils, one of the most renowned Guardsman regiments, comes straight from there. Krieg is also a death world. Yeah. Higiton Secundus, where my players currently are. Death world. It's a death world. So if you are from a death world, you gain Survivor's Paranoia. While death world characters surprised, non-surprise attackers do not gain the normal plus 30 bonus to their weapon skill ballistic skill tests when targeting this character. So you know how in D&D, the barbarian can't be surprised? Yeah, you get that. Surprise is really dangerous, by the way. Really dangerous. So not being affected by it is great. In the complete opposite of that, by the way, is a garden world, or known as a pleasure world. There's sometimes some Slaanesh stuff going on there. Basically, some worlds are so fucking pretty, so beautiful in fact, that the Imperium won't ravage them. Yeah, they won't ravage them. They'll leave them beautiful as they found them. And people from those kinds of worlds are like really, really chill, but really good at like convincing people. Like, imagine your entire life is... What? What's happened? Stream? What? Something happened. It spiked? Oh shit, rubbed the wrong thing. What? It's freaking out? What's freaking out? Huh? Looks fine for me? Let me refresh. I was about to say it, I didn't see anything then. Weird. Don't know why it would spike it. Oh, okay. Did you hear everything, or I'll reintroduce. So the complete opposite of a death world, garden worlds, pleasure worlds, as they're also known. Within the last 10 seconds. Okay. Fuck. YouTube guys, are you okay over there? Hopefully they are. Okay, you can hear me now though, can't you? Just to check before I carry on. Let's check 1 2 1 2. You can all hear me okay? Are we good? We golden? We Gucci? Are we good? I think it's only Twitch Twin, because Lib has the same problem sometimes. Is it good now though? Just before I continue, is it good now? Yes, okay, right. So to reintroduce garden worlds, pleasure worlds. Basically, the entire place is filled with such serenity, such beauty, that even the Imperium of Man will not violate that. It will genuinely not violate that at all. I'm disconnected. Oh, that did happen for a second. But yeah. So, in essence... Sorry, I'm just checking my stats. Right. Stream's stable now. So yeah, in essence, this is a world of, like, paradise. But all the people here are also, like, kind of trained to help maintain that paradise. If that makes sense. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. But also it's one of those ones where you could argue is it a nice thing to live in, you know? But yeah. You get the Serenity of the Green bonus. Godbold character halves the duration, rounded up, of any result on the table of shock or mental traumas. Yeah, you're really big on charisma, but also you're actually really good at therapy, by the way. Like, you're really mentally stable. Like, essentially, if you're from this kind of world, you are so stable that you reduce how much damage shock or mental traumas will do to you. And you can halve how much it costs to remove insanity points. Which is really good. Potentially, yes. At bare minimum, you can help yourself pretty well. And there are, I think, a few ways you can help someone, like, get through the mental shit. But yeah, you're the person who can really kind of hold it together when things get horrific. Right, moving on. Ooh. Research stations. Alright, here's one for you nerds. Basically, you live on the research station, and you probably have most of your life. You are big smart. So you can the rock that holds it. Yeah, pretty much. There are stats as well that help you, like, lets you basically use your willpower to help reduce people's like shakenness and stuff. It's really good. Leadership's a whole thing. Now research gives you the knowledge attribute. Last one gives you the social one. This one gives you the knowledge attribute, which is important for lore. And this, you go this one if you're going to be lore man. Use of data. Whenever a research station character reaches rank 2, trained in scholastic lore, he also gains rank 1 in one related or identical forbidden lore skill specialization. Basically, if you are someone who's learned in the scholastic arts in some way, you, in essence, right there for a second. You, in essence, can just pick up immediately forbidden laws, which normally have a risk of corruption, but this lets you go like, okay, I know about like Psychers scholastically, but now I know a bit of like dark lore because I've dug in a bit, essentially. That's background. Get to that later. We're almost through the world, I promise. I wanted to give you like a length and breadth of what kind of things you can get. Agri World. Basically, you're a farmer. Yeah, you're a farmer. You live on a farm. A planet-sized farm. You're on the ranch. You know? Maybe you're ranching some groks around and moving cattle. Maybe you're a cowboy kind of thing, you know? Or maybe you're on a moisture farm, you know? The Outer Rim. Maybe, you know, you're in some factory world that's just algae. But either way, you're a farmer. You're a big burly farmer. Fun fact, quite a few of them are also recruited to the Mechanicus, because you're used to dealing with farming machinery. All that kind of stuff. But this bonus gives you strength from the land. Gives you a trait. Brutal Charge 2. You're great at hitting things. Both. Both would be applicable. But this one actually encourages that you can actually be a bit of a fighter too. So you get bonuses to being friendly and strong, but you could easily say you're a tech priest and you started off as someone who worked on the machines. Yeah, you might have some cyborg bits, by the way. That is completely normal. Yeah, that is... It's a simple trait, but from a simple life, you know? Sometimes people will get, like, tricked into going to an agri world. It's kind of sad. But this fella here with a little, you know, chainsawed arm. They vary. Now, speaking of worlds that are a bit more idyllic... Hello, Marks. Well, come on in, buddy. How you doing? And what do you do, Mr. Tech Beast? I fix tractors. Yeah, you might. You might, basically. Or the servitor that moves them around. Or you lobotomize the groks. Now, feudal worlds. Not to be confused with night worlds, by the way. They're very similar to night worlds, except a night world has all the feudal world trappings, except your lord, instead of going around on a horse, goes around on a big fucking stampy mech from before the age of the Imperium. That can take on armies of fucking tanks and shit. I think every 3 hour in Ubisoft 5 currently. Ooh, very nice. Yeah, I've heard good things about that game. I've heard a lot of good things. Well, speaking of very feudal positions, yeah, feudal worlds. Basically, you don't really care about how heavy armor is. You're used to wearing armor. Like, your world's basically in the medieval era, but occasionally the Imperium turn up. So yeah, if you want a character who can wear the heavy armor, because you can wear plate mail, by the way, that is a valid choice of armor in this setting. You might be from a feudal world and walk in plate mail. That is completely valid. Yeah, it's literally, like, medieval times. Now, speaking of living out on the open, the frontier. There are worlds that have a mix of some high-tech and then medieval stuff. Exactly. Night worlds are the most extreme cases of this, because a knightly household is both a small force of extremely advanced war machines that use very vast and powerful mechs that you plug yourself into, and there's a very real risk that you die, because Knights are filled with the digitized engrams of their prior pilots that literally speak to you while you're using the knight. There are chaos versions of these, as you know, and yes, they are exactly as horrifying as you imagine. Sometimes they're filled with demons, or just the screaming ghosts of your ancestors, telling you how evil you are. Oh yeah, you could definitely do that. Now, Frontier Worlds. I believe Conrad from you're good at shooting, good at seeing, you're also good at fellowship. Rely on yourself as your bonus. Frontier World character gains a plus 20 bonus to tech use tests when applying personal weapon modifications, a plus 10 repairing damage items. Basically, you're like kind of the off-tech guy who can fix shit and modify their weapons. Now, it says personal weapon modifications. I don't know if that implies it has to be their weapon or it can be a weapon they've got in hand. So, DM's discretion on that one, by the way. Right. I guess we get to backgrounds now. Where am I? Oh, book. Okay. Just imagine you hear your grandfather whispering in your ear something like, "I smashed 20 girls when I was your age, you virgin." Literally, yes. That could happen. Oh, here's a really fucked one, Marks. The minute you succeed in the ritual of becoming, it takes a copy of you at that moment. Yeah. It takes a copy of you. Your younger self might bitch at you. Oh yeah. And as I mentioned before, Chaos Knights can have the same problem, but now your ancestors are screaming traitor. Oh, and also the machine spirit of your demonic fucking knight can also be involved because it might have a sentience now too. There's someone did a fan-made thing called I think it's called Machine Ex Machina or something like that. And it's about a Chaos Knight Dreadblade from their perspective. I would highly recommend watching it because it's so, like, well done. It's like, it's just one battle, and it's this guy going mad, having these, like, ghosts take over his body, and it's only when this, like, other voice, that might be the machine spirit of the fucking knight itself, forces its will onto him, that he takes control briefly and, like, almost merges with the knight for a bit. But, like, you can feel what's happening to you. Like, if you're getting shot at, you feel it. It's weird, like... And Titans are worse, by the way. Titans' machine spirits are... They don't have a ritual becoming, but a Titan machine spirit can just kill you if it doesn't like you. That's a whole other thing. Yeah, Titans are a whole other animal. Those god machines are... Yeah. Whole thing. Anyway. Enough about Titans. Backgrounds. Basically, if you want to think of Dark Heresy, your homeworld's how you started, your background's where you went, your role, which we'll get to later, is where you are now. That's what you do in the Inquisition. So, we'll run through these pretty quickly, but I'll use the Adeptus Administratum as an example. So, you get a bit more things with this. Starting skills, starting talents, your equipment, initially comes from this, a background bonus, a choice of aptitudes, and the recommended role. I'll go through it with this one more so, and then we'll just go quicker through the other ones. If you want me to slow down or just start being a bit quick with this, just let me know, by the way. I don't want to bore anyone. So, with this one, you gain a bunch of starting skills. You can choose Commerce, or Medicae. You can do Common Law, and you get Adeptus Administratum. You're basically an admin person, essentially. You gain Linguistics, High Gothic. That's important. That means you speak, basically, you speak rich people. Not even kidding, by the way. The rich have their own language. Everyone else speaks Low Gothic. Yeah, you speak rich. So, for example, Imperial Guard in network issue right now. I don't know if that came through, by the way. I noticed it went off for a second there. But yeah, Imperial Guard in High Gothic, Astra Militarum. Like how Space Marine in High Gothic is Adeptus Astartes. Basically, it's not direct, but yeah, basically High Gothic Latin. In a sense. I don't know why my network's dropping so much as well. Let's do a quick quick internet speed test real fast. I just want to see what my network's looking like at the moment. I'm hoping not. I mean, it's saying in my Streamlabs it's doing this, so it's not Twitch specifically. I don't think. I hope it's not, anyway. I hope that's not going to be a constant thing. That's going to be really annoying, that is. I can't do much about that. But yeah. You speak rich. And you gain a Scholastic Law of your choice. Now, typically, every single one of these gains a weapon training of some kind, right? You can choose Las or Solid Projectile. All it means is you don't have to roll a -20 to use the weapon. Yeah, it only happens on Twitch, Fibbin. So, yes, said same thing. Oh, okay. Weird. Well, hopefully Twitch isn't being shitty. Right, so starting equipment. Depending on your choice of weapon training, obviously don't pick the wrong one. So if you've gone Las, don't pick a fucking stub automatic. You're gonna struggle. Imperial robes. It's like one arm in every location. Except for the head, actually. Also Quill. What do we see? Yeah. Yeah, the Also Quill. To explain, an Also Quill is a device that writes for you. You can speak into it and it'll just start writing. This is going to sound... This is a big thing of the Imperium. That's really dumb. So, they use an ungodly amount of paper. They do have digital medium. They use paper because they're worried that they'll show too much favor to the Mechanicus if they use digital all the time. Yes, I know it's fucking stupid. But yeah, so you have a typing tool. You have a chrono. Basically, you have a watch. You have a clock. You have a clock that can calibrate based on a planet's rotation. You have a data slate, basically an iPad, an advanced iPad, and a medikit. Now, the background bonus is perhaps one of the best background bonuses in the entire game. You'll see why very quickly. Master of Paperwork. An Adeptus Administratum character counts the availability of all items as one level more available. So very rare becomes rare. Average becomes common. What it basically means, I'm going to pause the ads so they don't run for a second so I can explain this. It sounds boring. Here's the thing. Any gear is one level easier for you to get. That means instead of starting with gear that's scarce rarity, you could start with gear that's rare. Because it goes down to scarce. Now, here's where it gets fucky. You can take lower quality versions of gear and they drop another rarity. You can start with this background, you can start the game in power armor with a power shield and a power fist or a thunder hammer. You could start the game like that. You could start in Tempestus Scion armor, some of the best armor you can get isn't powered, with hotshot las guns and all sorts of stuff. Basically, you can start with some really nasty stuff way earlier if you wanted, because you're a pencil pusher. And it's everything, by the way. Like bionics, by the way, mechanical bits, replacing your body. Yep, that too. Everything. Every single item in the game has rarity, and you can get it easier. Yeah. That's your value. You can get shit easier. You know the system. So yeah, I know it sounds boring, but I promise you, if when you actually realise what it lets you do, also it lets you get services easier too. Yeah, it adds up when you realise what this actually counts as. All items, sorry, so it's just items, but still, all items. Yeah, we'll run through this a bit easier, a bit quicker now. Now I've got like the, yeah. Okay, this one you might like more, the Adeptus Arbites. You can be a space cop. You know the guys from Dark Tide with the... Well, you don't start with a dog necessarily. Actually, I don't know if you can get the dog. Actually, I don't know if there are stats for a Cybermastiff in-game by default, which is annoying, but they show it here. But yeah, you can be an Arbites. You can start as an Arbites. You have the Enforcer Carapace armor, by the way. The light Carapace, specifically. It's better than Guardsman armor. It's really good. Now you start with shock or solid projectile. Basically. Now I'd probably say you want to get some kind of shooting weapon as well, honestly. But yeah, shock mauls, not that kind of stuff. Or you can have a shotgun. And you're pretty good, obviously. You get awareness, common law, that's Arbites, and underworld, because obviously you're a cop. Well, you're actually more like the FBI. Is a more accurate term to what you are. Because these guys aren't just the police, they're like above them. These like Judge Dredd. Is a probably better explanation. And you're good at questioning people, basically. Finding shit. You get a shotgun or maul, like Carapace armor, or a Carapace chestplate. Get the Enforcer like Carapace armor, unless you go for something specific, because honestly it's just better. Stim, manacles, and low sticks. You get cigarettes. The game gives you cigarettes. Face the law, the Arbiter can reroll any intimidation or interrogation tests, and can substitute his willpower bonus for degree of success in those tests. You're great at questioning people, essentially, but you're also can be a beat stick. Okay, this one's actually quite important, because this one in particular, this determines if you're a sanctioned or unsanctioned psyker. If you want to be a sanctioned psyker, this is the one you go. This is the one you go. Because this one has the Test on Terror benefit, which, if you take the Psyker during character creation, you get sanctioned. The reason that matters is because the Psyker, if you're sanctioned, starts at level 2, meaning you have a psi rating of 2. You're a stronger Psyker by default, by just having this. But you're also better at stopping psychic bullshit from happening by just your mere presence. So, if you want to do stuff with the warp, this is in general a good one to have. You don't have to be a Psyker, but if you're going to go Psyker and you want to be sanctioned, do this one. It does help a bit if you want to have like, an easier time being a Psyker. Oh, excuse me. Have a quick sip. Oh. I really hope I'm going quite quickly, by the way, so, again, feel free to stop me and ask any questions if you do have any come to mind. There are interestingly does recommend Shuriken, actually, which is interesting. But yeah, typically go Psycho in this one. But you could go blank, that is perfectly valuable too. But this oh, thank you. Basically, what the main thing this gives you is you are able constant threat. When the character or an ally within 10 meters triggers a roll psychic phenomena, this character can increase or decrease the result equal to willpower bonus. Basically, you can make them less fucked. Or potentially you can adjust it. I don't know why you'd want the number to be higher. But I guess if it's a detrimental result going lower, you could go higher, I suppose. But yeah, this might save you or your friends from being fucked. Oh, excuse me. Now, again, if you want to go a psychic blank, by the way, this actually isn't a bad one either. But they typically deal, to explain, the Astral Telepath can deal with, like, anything psychic related, essentially. That's your gist. So you could be a magic man like this. Right. The Cog Boys. Deptus Mechanicus. The Toaster Fuckers and Chiefs themselves. Do you like being a cyborg? You're fucking better, because these guys are all about it. Basically, you are a holy tech support man. And you are very much of a different religion to everyone else. Because you don't worship the Emperor, you worship the Machine God. The Emperor is your Jesus instead. But yeah. So, traits, you gain Mechadendrite use. And Solid Projectile. You just get those, no choices in your traits. The talents, rather, you get them straight away. Mechadendrites are your mechanical tentacles. You can do various things with them. There are a variety of mechanical tentacles you can use. Just to let you know, your limit on how many tentacles you can have is your toughness bonus. Get like a reasonable... You can have a servo skull or an optical mechadendrite. Basically, you have a little telescope that can see in various things. A little tentacle can see things. And your Sacred Unguents, you basically rub a weapon with those and they work better, in essence. Now, remember before you had a guy who could reduce the rarity of stuff? This guy does it for implants specifically. So, all cybernetics are too easier to get. This means you can start with best quality in a bunch of cybernetics straight from the get-go. Straight from the get-go. The Mechanicus Implants trait means you can use certain bionics that no one else can, by the way. You're not the only one who gets that. There is one other background that gives you that. Basically, this is your smarts boy for the most part, but you can build them to be quite a beefcake too. There's a little example of a tech priest, by the way. Medistorum, you're a priest. Simply put, you're a priest. And you also, if you want, can walk around with a fucking flamethrower. Yes, they're as horrifying as it sounds. Flamethrowers are nasty. You also can get a servo skull. It's got a loudhailer on it. Basically, you have a servo skull with a big speaker on it. But instead of playing dubstep, it screams hymns to the Emperor all the time, probably. You gain the Faith is All bonus. Spending a fate point, gain plus 10 bonus to any one test. And then Adeptus Mystorum character gains plus 20 instead. Basically, instead of gaining that plus 10, as I say, you good with fate points. So have lots of fate points because you're going to be using them. You can be more social, more leaderly, basically. These guys want to be the talkers. They can also do some healing, but you want to be the talker, probably. You could also be the holy fighter, like Darktide. Not outside. Like, look at these fuck. Yeah, very religious, but they will chop your head off. The guard. You're a soldier. Not just a soldier. You're not a planetary soldier. No, you're the guard. You go out there, you go to different planets, and you probably die horrifically. Well, you didn't. You came back. You get your lasgun, you get your low tech. Basically, you get the guardsman gear. You get the Hammer of the Emperor. Basically, you're a team player. If someone's already attacked that target, you get to re-roll damage of 1 or 2. Simple as that. And you can choose if you want to be more like a sergeant, lead, or if you want to be more like just a grunt. Simple enough, right? And I think this is the last one. Yeah, Outcast, for this main book anyway. Outcast. Basically, you're a criminal. You're from the hives, you're scum, you're outside of the law, typically. You get some stuff about the underworld. You get some drugs. Get drugs. And you get the Never Quit bonus. Outcast character count as toughness bonus as 2 high purposes of determining fatigue. Basically, you can push your body further than everyone else before you get tired. Oh, and you get chain weapons too. Right. We'll go through these a bit quicker, but these have a few more things. The Exorcised. You were possessed by a demon. Your character had a demon inside of them and survived. You actually get the Hatred of Demons talent straight away. Essentially, you have survived one of the most horrific experiences in the setting. You gain a malignancy straight away because you've had a demon in you. An exercise character counts as insanity bonus as 2 higher purposes of avoiding fear tests. To explain, insanity, if you have your insanity past certain points, you become immune to fear at certain levels. So fear 1, I think if your insanity is 10 or more, you are immune to fear 1. And so on for like other things, like memory serves. I'll have to double check that, but yeah. Additionally, he can never again become possessed by the same demon that once possessed him. Hint, hint. That demon should become a secondary, or maybe even the primary antagonist if you haven't already got one. That would be great material. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But yeah, this guy, he's been through a lot, right? They've been through a fucking lot. So, you know, by all means, you have your character be someone who's like fucking hates the demonic and really wants to prove themselves, or is just like who's softened in some regard. They've been through some shit. Crusader. Oh, that's a roll. Oop. Gets those later. Heretic. Do you like being a tech priest, but hate actually being a tech priest? Or maybe you want to be a tech priest who's a bit more unorthodox. Well, let me introduce you to Heretic. You are basically committing techno heresy. By all rights, you should be lobotomized or killed for this. However, the Inquisitor has decided, actually, I could like your spunk. I want to keep you around. So, you are great at deception. You are great at finding things, potentially. Min law, you get one. You want to use min law stuff. Do you want to be a doctor? Be a bit do kinds of like dangerous triage stuff? You can do that, by the way. Tech use. in a trade. Basically, your entire thing is when you make a tech use test to comprehend, use, repair, or modify an unfamiliar device, gain a +20 bonus if your one relevant forbidden law skill specializations rank 1 known or higher. Janus, one of the characters in my campaign, has this. And because he has a talent which gives him known in everything, he can do this quite often. This is the fuck that uses weird bloody like weird stuff. Like alien weapons and chaos shit, potentially. This character's ripe for all kinds of bullshit and corruption. There's an example heretic there. Maybe you want to have your guy work for the Navy. Well, now you can. Similar to the Imperial Guard in many respects, but with some slight differences. Big one, obviously, is this also causes you to be an ace. You're a pilot, basically. But essentially, you are really good at dealing with close engagements. When we do success, ballistic skill tests made against targets at point blank or short range with whom he is engaged in melee. Basically, you want to get talent to let you shoot someone in melee. Pretty much. You're great at up close and personal, essentially. Yeah, you know, nice little uniform and stuff. Is this the last? Yeah, it is. Rogue Trader Fleets. You've worked for Rogue Trader. You might have been a Voidsman at Arms. Maybe you were some kind of staff for the Rogue Trader. Basically, Rogue Traders, to be very quick with law, they are people who have been given the right to explore the galaxy and basically get to do whatever they want. They're the most free people in the Imperium, and the Emperor himself gave their family this right of trade. It is almost a complete you do what you want. There is a very good video game based on the different tabletop system that you can experience this in, by the way. Yeah, your character came from one of them. They weren't a rogue trader themselves, because that is quite a high position, actually. But they came from one of those fleets. And you're a bit of a weird one. How to explain it? You basically are very easily able to be the person who deal with aliens. Yeah, you're actually really good at speaking with aliens and dealing with fear from aliens. Pretty much. Also, you get a pistol fitted with a combat weapon upgrade immediately. You don't upgrade any weapons, the whole thing. But yeah, you're essentially the alien speaker, in essence. Because you will have dealt with them. Hell, some rogue traders even speak directly to the alien. Now, Adeptus Sororitas. A big thing to mention, you are not a Sister of Battle. You can become one later, but you are not starting as a Sister of Battle. The Adeptus Sororitas is actually a very in-depth organization. They have medical, language. There are those who deal with imperial nobility. There are those who deal with disaster relief. And then there's the Sisters of Battle. There's a whole range of parts of this organization. Those are the baddies. They can be. And your character can become a Sister of Battle. It is pretty much expected, by the way, that a character who is of this background is a woman, by the way. Because the organization is filled up of entirely women, because the church is forbidden to have men under arms. They took it very literally. So you don't start with power armor, by the way. So that's a big thing to note. But you can have a flamer. You have chain weapons, all kind of cool shit. And basically, you're actually the best person to handle corrupted material. Why? Well, Incorruptible Devotion. Whenever an Adeptus Sororitas character would gain 1 or more corruption points, she gains that many insanity points minus 1 to a minimum of 0. And here's the best part. It's instead of the corruption. And you could pair this with being from a garden world if you wanted. Meaning your sister of battle to be, or other part Adeptus Sororitas, guess what? You basically are incorruptible. No matter how crazy you go, you can actually help yourself as well. Yeah, gathering knowledge is potentially a thing as well. But yeah, so you're a bit of a... You can go into the fighting side, go into the talking side, maybe even the Medicae. Or just go full-on fanatic, you know? Yeah, and eventually you could become a Sister of Battle. Now, on something less holy. The Mutant. This is what Dimitri is, by the way. Those are curious. Mutants. Mutants are not liked. I want to stress this very clearly to you. If you are going to pick a mutant, please discuss with your DM. Because a mutant... The Imperium is prejudice against mutants. Very prejudiced against mutants. The more obvious your mutation, the more they hate you. I think there's an example on here. Yeah, you see all that like, on the hand and the arm there? Very obvious mutations? Yeah, they do not like that stuff. They actually have a bit here about mutants because of how, like Psychers aren't trusted, but a mutant? Fuck no. They put up with Ogrins and Ratlings just barely. They're stable. You are not going to be stable. But if you are still determined to be a mutant, you will gain some traits. You gain one of the following. This can be Amphibious, Dark Sight, Natural Weapons, Sonar Sense, Sturdy, Toxic 1, Unnatural Agility 1, Natural Strength 1, or Natural Toughness 1. This is one of the only ways you can get some of these. And you begin with 10 corruption points. Dimitri started on a demon world, so you can imagine this adds up quickly. And essentially, you essentially don't gain malignancies, you gain mutations. You just choose a mutation instead. Roll 5d10 on potential determine starting mutation for this character. Yes, you get one mutation on top of your trait. And then Twisted Flash. A mutant can always choose to fail at any test associated with resisting malignancy or mutation. Whenever they would gain malignancy, he may roll mutations instead. There's a lot of options for you, but obviously, please bear in mind, you are not going to be liked by most NPCs once they realize you're a mutant. Okay, that's the backgrounds. Right, this next bit should be a bit easier. Roles. Roles are mostly mechanical, so I'm not going to get too much into these. I'm just going to talk about them off the rip. We're almost through character creation, by the way. I won't go through every single talent and trait. I'll discuss a few of them. Don't worry. So, roles mostly give you your aptitudes. They give you a bonus too. And a talent of some kind. Also, I've been reminded, actually, on a complete side note, one of these days I would love to actually make a Sisters of Battle army. They look really cool. I just wish the face sculpts were better because, goddammit, GW cannot sculpt women. Holy shit, they cannot. The face sculpts are varying, certainly. So, if you are an assassin, you are being geared towards either being a stabby assassin or a shooty assassin. and you get jaded or leap up. Either you're good at jumping or you're good at resisting, like, things that bother you, mental stuff. And Sure Kill, with us instead of hitting with a wet attack, you may spend fate point to inflict an additional damage equal to the degree of success on the attack roll. Basically, you're a rogue. You're the rogue, basically. You hit hard as fuck. There are some recommended things here. This is quite useful if you're going to keep aptitudes. Look at these because they're really helpful. Churrigan, you're the doctor. You're the fucker who keeps people alive. It's very useful to have someone with this. Gain resistance or takedown. That just helps you, like, bring someone down non-lethally. Dedicated healer, essentially, you use fate to succeed with like your intelligence degrees of success. That can be really changing. And here's the thing, you can do that a number of times based on how many fate points you have per session. And the next session they refresh. But you can only do it once per day on people. Just to mention that. But you can heal them. Very useful. You can also use your Churrigan skills as hurting people, like torture. By the way, that is an option too. Desperado, you are a run around, hit and run person, basically. Once around after performing a move action, Desperado can maybe perform a single-handed action with a pistol weapon. Basically, you run around with pistols pew-pewing people. If you like the idea of being a little two-weapon wielding crazy who runs around shooting people, well, I've got good news for you. Desperado's your new friend. Hierophant. You are the speaker. You are good at teamwork. But just to mention in 40k, speaker doesn't always mean you're there to calm people. You might also be there to fan the flames of raw hatred. Because hate is something that the Imperium uses a lot. A hero character may spend fate points to almost succeed a charm, command, or intimidate skill test with number of degrees equal to their willpower. Basically, you can guarantee that when you try and riz someone, you do it. Or maybe try to piss them off. You're good at social shit. The Mystic. Do you want to be a psyker? That's what this bonus gives you. You're a psyker now. Congratulations. You abomination, you. Now, you can either get better at resisting psychic powers or warp sense. You can vibe the warp a little bit. But this automatically makes you a psyker. Now, caveat, it says willpower 35, I suggest 40. You're actually going to use psychic powers. If you're going to go as far as to take the mystic background, just have 40 willpower. Just have the max. But yeah, that's all Mystic does. Makes you a psyker. If you have Adeptus Astra Telepathica, you get to be a sanctioned psyker instead. You have a psi rating of 2, and you don't have the risk of... I think if you roll doubles, it doesn't blow you up like it does. So for my characters are both unsanctioned in my campaign, and if they roll doubles and any dice, perils, well, not perils, sorry, phenomena, which could be perils. So, whereas these guys, if they have both sanctioned, I think you can re-roll it, and you can do stuff to, like, avoid that. Yeah, you are a Psych Man. That one. The Sage. You're a brainy boy. A little brainy boy or girl, you know? Use your brain. You spend fate points to automatically succeed on a logic or any law skill test. Number to be success. Then modifier. You are the logic or law person, basically. But you also gather information a bit too. The Seeker. You are finding things. You are great at finding things, actually. Awareness or inquiry? You got this. You can just pass it. One of my characters, Conrad, has this exact role. last one? Yes, the Warrior. I slept on this one for a long time, but don't sleep on it. It's actually really good. This one's for your fighty characters. And actually, this bonus is quite nice. Expert in Violence. In addition to normal use of fate points, after making a successful attack test, basically attacking, but before determining hits, a warrior character may spend fate point to substitute his weapon skill, melee or ballistical for range, bonus for degrees of success, bonus for the degrees of success scored on the attack test. So, what that means is you can just auto pass. One second, let me just double check I've read this right. Successful attack test before terminating. If it's subsequent, before terminating hits, one character may spend fate points to substitute his buff skill or ballistic skill bonus for the degree of success scored on the attack test. I forget what that does now. I'm trying to think the exact thing that does. I'm pretty sure it basically lets you auto hit, if memory serves. I'll have to double check. The wording that's a bit weird, actually, than I remembered, but yeah. You get a bit of everything. Lets you be an everyman. So you can use melee and ranged. Oh, these are the aptitudes, by the way. There are the ones from your characteristics, and there are these ones too. The only one you can unlock later is Psyker, by the way. Because you get Psyker for being a Psyker. Now, we'll jump on quickly for the other ones. Crusader, you are essentially there to deal with weird warp bullshit and Psyker shit. But you're not Psyker yourself, necessarily. Crusader explains fate, automatically, yeah, you don't get feared. Equal to the willpower bonus. In addition, whenever he inflicts a hit with his melee attack against a target with Fear X trait, he inflicts... Yeah, basically, if you are a Crusader, you want to run at the thing that's scary and smack it really hard. And you use its own fear against it. So, there's Night Lords, yeah, you smack them harder. Actually, there's more, isn't there, I think? Ah, elite advances. We'll get to those later. The Ace, you're a pilot. Basically, spend fate points to give you benefits when piloting or driving. You are the designated driver. In essence. The Fanatic. Similar to the Crusader, as far as the talent's concerned. Don't use fate points. A Fanatic character may spend a fate point to count as having hatred against the current foe for the duration of the encounter. Should they choose to leave combat, hatred for the encounter over. Basically, hatred, if memory serves, gives you bonuses to hitting the fucker, because you hate them. But, you know, it essentially means you have hated everyone at your command. You just go, you know what, I hate this fucker. Now you hate them. You must destroy them once you hate them. Penitent. You are trying to redeem yourself for something. Cleansing Pain. Whenever a penitent casts was one or more points of damage after reducing toughness, it's plus something bonus the first test makes for. Basically, you want to take pain. You literally get better for being hurt. You masochist, you. Right. Let me see what time we're on. Yeah. Might be a short one, but we'll go through some other bits and then I'll wrap it up. Right, slash type sheet. Exactly. So, these are what the aptitudes are used for. Again, I personally, not big on them. You can decide, though, if you like them or not. I feel like just having, like the middle tier. As far as, so they have one aptitude. That's how I would treat it. They always have, treat it as having one. Unless it's a general. Something of the general aptitude, Everyone has that. Right, let me see. So, well, no, I might have to break this onto different streams potentially to go over a bit more of this. But basically, we'll touch on one more thing tonight, I think. I think the Elite Advances would be a fun one to end off on. So, Elite Advances. Use these either, for some of them, they're character creation only, but for some of them, they're a goal. So, Psyker is an Elite Advance, right? Now, there is an entire page for Psykers. We will cover that another time. The whole page for them. Now, being an Inquisitor, you'll notice the XP requirement. Fucking expensive. Very expensive. 75 influence as well. And it requires an NPC to basically say, yeah, you can be an Inquisitor. Basically, to give you some lore context, an Inquisitor can only be named as such either temporarily when your Inquisitor dies, or if your Inquisitor and another Inquisitor agree you can be an Inquisitor. Additionally, a Lord Inquisitor can name you an Inquisitor as well. Lord Inquisitor isn't actually a rank, it's just like an honorary thing. Essentially, they're a respected and like veteran Inquisitor, basically. The reason I have to mention that is even if your player has all the prerequisites, there needs to be a narrative reason why this is happening. You could have someone starting as a Inquisitor as well, by the way. There is an entire bit about this in the book, but I will stress, if you're just starting out, don't do this. This is a goal, if you want to try and attain it, and there are talents specifically for Inquisitors to take. They have like various bonuses and stuff. Some of them give like more fate points or resistance to corruption. There's a lot of shit. This is like the goal for a lot of people. It's a huge moment though, and it invests upon them a lot of power narratively. Right, Psyker. Bit cheaper. You can get this a character creation, and this also locks you out of the untouchable. You cannot have both. But what I will say is, one, if you have a Psyker in your group, you probably don't want an untouchable. They don't interact nicely. The untouchable cancels the Psyker out. But essentially, once you become a Psyker, you then get access to psychic powers. You gotta buy them, but it's one of them. If you have the Sanction Psyker, again, you start with Psi Rating 2. And you can use XP to up your Psi Rating. If you're not a Sanction Psyker, you're a Rogue Psyker, technically. Now, Untouchables. You will have seen one of these in my campaign. The leader of the Hooks of Higaton is untouchable. Basically, they are not affected by any psychic abilities. Positive or negative, they can't be affected by it. They gain resistant psychic powers, which means anything that's like more physical, like a fireball or lightning, they're more resilient to its effects. In certain cases, they can cancel them out. You basically have no fellowship, by the way. Touchables, like, no one wants to be near them. And you ignore phenomena entirely. demons even don't want to be near you as well. And there are talents specifically for you. They expand on these in the demon book, I believe, as well. But essentially, you are horrible to be around for anything warp related. Now, what if you said, Cobral, I like being a psyker, but I want to have more. Well, you greedy fiend, what if I told you that, let's say you're sanctioned psyker? Well, okay, you could be an astropath. What does that mean? Astropaths, generally speaking, you should have that from the start, because it's a long process. Long training, and also, your eyes get fucking burned out. Because you have to look upon the Emperor for a brief moment. Which means you now see through the warp. Instead. You gain the soulbound trait. Rather than choosing a side effect, a character permanently loses their sight. There are other like soulbound stuff, but essentially you lose your sight. And you gain an actual senses X. And wherever your willpower is, that's where you can see. But you can see through walls and shit. And there are certain talents and psychic powers you get. You're geared towards like telepathy and stuff, but basically, to explain, astropaths are long-range communications guys. Basically, they can send messages faster than light. Just woo. But they're also like really disciplined psychers. Hey, Neon. Holy shit, it's a long time, buddy. How you been? I'm doing alright, man. How about you? I'm doing alright. I said how are you before I read your question now. Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing good, but how about you? Let's see. So yeah, there are some psychic powers specifically for the astropath. I've been baked and fried. Concerning. A big thing, by the way, is astral telepathy. Your range is 1,000 kilometers by psi rating. I will allow the Americans to translate that into their own units if they wish. But you'll at minimum have about 2,000 kilometer range. You can see how this can go up exponentially with more psi rating. This can let you fire your thoughts across to like other planets potentially, or like orbiting ships. You can also go through someone's mind and strip layers of their mind to like find information out of them. You're really big on telepathy, basically. That's like your main sort of thing you do. There's a few bonuses that buff you specifically. One here. I don't think these have an elite advance. No, they don't. Check. No, they don't. This one does not. This one, however, does. So, you've picked Adeptus Sororitas. Would you like to be a full-on Sister of Battle? Do you want to be an absolute baddie and be a bad bitch in armor? With a bolt gun? You would? Great. For the low cost of 750 XP and having 50 influence and 40 willpower and the right background, you can become a Sister of Battle. You gain the Peer Adeptus Sororitas and weapon training Bolt. Important. Gain Intellectus Imperialis, because you're basically a soldier. And willpower aptitude. That's actually one of a way you can get an aptitude, actually, interestingly. Now, you gain the Sororitas Power Armor. You just get that now. The Godwin D's Nuts Bolt Pistol. Kidding. Godwin D's Bolt Pistol. Or Flamer. This is a battle against a special set of talents, traits. Yeah, you get some talents as well. Just to buff you up as well. full-on proper sister of battle. And yeah, that is your elite advances. So we've gone through quite a few things. Not everything, not even country mile, but I can feel my throat getting dry from how fast I'm talking. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more context to Dark Heresy. So I do hope you've enjoyed that. I realise I've just been rapid firing this stuff. I know, very dry, Neon. Very dry. I've also been fighting my inside trying to tear me inside out. Something has not agreed with me, I think. So I have to go deal with that after stream. Hey. But yeah. As I say, this one is probably going to be a short one, mostly because my stomach is killing me. I'll be fine. Don't worry. I probably just had something that didn't quite agree. But anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed that and you've enjoyed me yammering on about Dark Heresy. Let me know if you want to do... you have been explaining it really well, but... Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you. So we've got to put yeah, hopefully that was worthwhile for you guys. There's a little bit of a behind the scenes of Dark Heresy and some things about it. Obviously, I'm most up with like early stuff in character creation, but I felt like I wanted to give you guys a bit of foundational. So I feel like Dark Heresy is not as well known a system as like Dungeons and Dragons, so I can't just assume you guys know what something is as easily because again, it's not D&D. So I'm hoping it's been worthwhile for you. And if you want some more of this, perhaps not next Sunday but Sunday after, do let me know. I am very curious on how you found this one and if you want more like it. Or if you think, actually, don't do that again, Kerbal. Whatever you're feeling at the time. But I do hope you've enjoyed and hopefully you've... I'm hoping I'll give you an interest in Dark Heresy, perhaps. Perhaps you may wish to take it away and have a go at it yourself. I believe Humble Bundle has a whole thing for the books, but let's just say you can find it in other ways. I can DM at you, it's fine. Yeah, thanks for the well wishes on the stomach. Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here. So thank you very much for my little TED Talk. If you have any questions at all post-stream, please feel free to drop it in the Discord. And I will also be firing out this coming week's schedule. So this time next week, we'll be doing some Voice in the Dark. So do keep a beady eye out for that. And yeah, but again, just want to thank you all for joining me tonight and my little heresy talk. Again, if you want more of this, let me know. Ah, I know. I thought I was going to go a bit longer, but yeah, I probably need to drop off now, so don't worry, I'll be back before you know it. These lush cover behind subjects. I mean, yeah, if you wanted me to do that, I could do that. Honestly. I mean, if you have any suggestions for such a topic, let me know. Let me know. Alright. Chat, I'm gonna love you and leave you. Thank you all. I will see you all Thursday, though I'm going to make sure I edit a video together as well. Shit, I haven't done that. Right, I'm going to do that now. Alright, see you in a bit. Bye.